In America today, we have too many people going hungry, too many people living on the streets, and too many people who don't know how they're going to pay their medical bills. Now, this isn't the result of a lack of leadership. It's the result of bad leadership. Republicans in America have worked very hard to create these problems just so they can give a few more handouts to the already wealthy. Joining me now to explain how this happened is Howard Nations. Howard, one of the biggest complaints that the American people have in general is that the government just doesn't work. Well, when you look at it, the government really does work exactly like our politicians want it to. It's just that it doesn't work for the average person in this country. And I think that's the big difference is that, no, it does work. It just doesn't work for us.
It's working extremely well. Bernie Sanders is having very much success with his mantra that the economy is rigged. It's rigged in favor of the 1%, against the middle class, and corruption on Wall Street still persists, and it persists unpunished. And it's very interesting that Bernie is resonating so strongly with the millennials. But Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are absolutely correct. There's a reason why the Republican is anti-establishment and pro-Trump. The millennials are 85% pro-Bernie. There was an interesting article in Truth Out by Eliza Webb. She did an excellent analysis regarding the United States, and it's pretty sad, actually. What she said was that in America, people are suffering. The children are going hungry. We have unbelievable poverty. We pay more for health care than any other rich country in the world. Our labor force is abused. It's underpaid. There are more people in prison than anywhere else in the world. Our public schools are unfairly funded. We have, despite what the Supreme Court says, we have institutionalized racism that persists. A fourth of the brown and black people live in poverty, and we have more people killed by gun violence than in any other industrialized country. When you compare that to the upper 1%, the upper 1%, listen to this, this is incredible. The upper 1% have the same amount of wealth as the lower 90%. That is an incredible statistic. But everything in the recent years, particularly since 2000, has been designed to continue that trend of all wealth flowing upward.
It's interesting, when you kind of lay it out like that, the fact that it's across the board. It's not just the Wall Street. It's not just the attack on labor unions. It is this systemic attack on every single facet of American life, everything from your job to your safety at your job, to your drinking water. You and I had discussed the issue with Flint, Michigan. I mean, it is across the board, the prisons, the racism, the money, the medical, the pharmaceuticals. There is not a single instance that you can conclusively point to say, look, things are working for the middle class. I mean, when you lay it all out, it seems like at this point, damn near everything is broken.
Well, it's broken for the middle class, but as you say, it's actually functioning fine. The war in Iraq was a huge success for Halliburton.
Yeah.
But why in this extremely wealthy country does government not provide fairness and equality of opportunity to everyone? And why is the government helping to kill the middle class by destroying unions, which are a primary builder of the middle class? The answer is, you want to know, follow the money. There is a consortium of congressmen and corporate executives who are perpetuating the rigged, inequality, and corrupt system of public policy that serves the corporations and moves wealth upward. Corporate profits are at an 85-year high, while workers' pay are at a 65-year low. That's ridiculous, that disparity. But where we are today, Congress is a millionaires club. The U.S. legislators and the corporate executives are bound in this collusive relationship that pushes wealth to the top, destroys the middle class, and further oppresses the poor.
That's an interesting point, the fact that corporate profits, 85-year high. And yet,
Isn't that something?
anytime you hear politicians speak, you hear the business leaders speak, they'll tell us things like, if we don't get this tax break, if you don't give us this subsidy, then we're going to go under. We're not going to survive. If we have to do, this one thing to make our workplace a little bit safer, it's going to destroy our business. I mean, it's an absolute lie. Things have never been better if you are a big business owner in this country or a big business shareholder. You're looking great. You have absolutely nothing to worry about. It's the workers. Those are the people who are suffering. They're the ones who suffer when a company says, look, we're not going to pay an extra $100 per person to make sure that you don't die while you're at work today. We're not going to do that. We're not going to make sure that, this part on your vehicle is not going to fall apart. It costs us $3 to fix, but we're not going to do it because it's going to cost us money. I mean, that is the corporate mentality today. And it is, to hell with the consumer, to hell with our workers. The American public doesn't matter. Congress is in our back pocket here. So what do we have to worry about? And that's why the average American, the millennials especially, they say that the government doesn't work because for these millennials, it never has worked for them. Since they were born, the system has been rigged and it's been this bad. And as of right now, it just continues to get worse.
Well, the methodology at the moment is that corporate execs get corporate welfare. They talk about welfare. How about corporate welfare? They get subsidies, grants, incentives, tax breaks, and tax loopholes. Plus, they get preservation of the status quo and beneficial legislation that is written by their own lobbyists. They write the law. They take it to their lapdog congressmen who push it through without reading it. The Harvard University Center for Ethics came out with a statement that just says it all, very sadly. Quote, institutional corruption is sadly alive and well in Congress. What the politicians get on the other side, they get campaign contributions. They get company stocks. It's amazing the amount of stock that's owned by members of Congress who are regulating and passing the laws that now heavily benefit these corporations where they're part owners. But the major problem is the revolving door to corporate America. The idea is you win a seat in Congress, you serve the corporate interests while you're in Congress, then you retire to great government benefits, and you receive huge incomes and perquisites as a corporate lobbyist. The result of this symbiosis in 2016, in the current spending bill, there are $400 billion in tax favors to big business.
And that's just, we've come to accept that. I mean, we have spoken about these issues so frequently over the years, and it's very hard to be shocked by any of this anymore, but we should be. And there's still the outrage, but it's not shocking anymore. It is just, my God, another story of this, another instance of corporate malfeasance, and nobody's going to prison. Nothing's happening to anyone except for the, kids on the street. I mean, we have black people being shot by police for no reason. And then, a guy in a Wall Street office can steal billions of dollars from mom and pop investors, ruin their life, make them never able to retire. And this guy instead gets a bonus for doing these things because the company gets fined far less than they made from ripping people off. We only have a few more minutes here. I want to move on a little bit to talk about the private prison industry, because this is one of the big ones. This is one of the worst things really that's happening in America, because these companies make money by locking people up indefinitely. As you pointed out earlier, one of the highest incarceration rates in the entire world in the United States, and it's because these private prison companies paying off the politicians to make these laws to pack the prisons.
Remember rehabilitation? Neither do they. Rehabilitation is a thing of the past. The Corrections Corporation of America and GEO are the for-profit prison companies. They're the two big companies. Since 1989, they've given $10 million in political contributions and spent $25 million on lobbying. Now, why do prisons need to lobby? here's how far they go. 78% of GEO and 63% of CCA lobbyists are former government workers. So why do they need to spend that kind of money? What are they lobbying for? They are lobbying for harsher sentences for nonviolent crimes, to keep people who commit nonviolent crimes in jail longer. They're lobbying for 3 strike rules. They're lobbying for mandatory sentencing. They're lobbying for abolishing reduction of sentences once you're sentenced by a judge. They're lobbying for abolishing parole. They're pushing for anti-immigration laws so that they can incarcerate immigration. I mean, they live for the day Trump becomes president and they can incarcerate all the Muslims in the country. But they receive millions in government subsidies. And, you know, you talk about, I mean, Rubio, Speaker of the Florida House, GEO got a $110 million government contract while he was the Speaker of the House in Florida. He got $40,000 in campaign contributions. It's a $2 billion per year profit industry.
And that's how broken, not just the system, but the entire Republican Party, that is how broken it's become. It's to hell with everybody else. I've got mine. Best of luck getting yours, because I've made damn sure that you can't get it. Unfortunately, Howard, we are out of time here, but this topic is infuriating, and I think the public needs to, it's time to get mad, because when you're mad, that's when you get active.
Okay, when you get mad, let me mention one more thing. Don't forget the grandfather of them all, General Electric. In 2010, General Electric paid $0 in taxes. In 2014, they made $4 million in campaign contributions, spent $15 million on lobbying. At the same time, they have $110 billion offshore where they're not paying taxes on it. There's your great American corporation personified.
Absolutely. Howard, thank you very much for telling us this story.
My pleasure, Farron.